Welcome, Alix. It's really great to have you. I know it's a particularly busy week for you, so we're really pleased that you could make it.
Thank you.
Let's just jump in here. Accor coined the phrase augmented hospitality, which in kind of broad terms is about services beyond the walls of the hotel. It's about more lifestyle-type products, and it's about personalization. So I wanted to ask you, what can the tech do now that feeds into those concepts?
Yes, so we came up with this wording, actually, of augmented hospitality because we strongly believe that when guests travel, they're looking at more than a room, a bed, a breakfast. They're looking for an experience. They're looking to enjoy the spa, and by the way, they interact with our hotel also when they don't travel. So super, super important. Today, tech can do a lot of that. Actually, if you look at all the options we have out there in terms of technologies, there is a lot we can do, right? The challenges, though, there are a few, and I think what the industry is trying to do is to do a mindset shift from being a service provider to guests to being an orchestrator of experiences, meaning that each one of us right now is in our silos. The tech, each one of them are in their own silo, and it's about how you orchestrate that in a seamless fashion for your guests to actually live the experience as if they were not different providers, different technology behind the scene.
Just as you talked about mindset there's also this mindset down to the kind of individual general manager where they, the focus purely on, heads in beds and F&B and not thinking beyond what else they could offer the guest, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you look at what we've been asking to our staff, and especially the GM, the role of a GM today is super different from the one from 10 years ago. We're asking them to obviously run the operation perfectly, but to be commercially savvy, to be able to do loyalty, to be able to bring the experiences, all of that being powered by technology. So it's becoming a very, very hard job. And I think, in my opinion, obviously technology will continue to evolve, but one thing that the industry shouldn't miss is this idea of better integrating, having more standards. It's a super fragmented industry in terms of technology, and also a lot more simplification, because we cannot ask the front desk person or the GM to know it all and to think about all these processes all running on different systems and so on. So this simplification aspect is going to be key, on top, of course, of upskilling our staff, because we need to get them prepared for that. A lot of the challenges we have actually with technology is often not the technology itself, it's the adoption.
Sure.
Because too complex, too much, too parallelized. So this is also a challenge that we need to crack collectively.
Now, you say that the technology can do a lot, but what are the gaps and what needs to happen so that you can do more of this augmented hospitality kind of offering?
Yes, so there are a few, actually. I mentioned the fragmentation, the integration, super, super important if you want to create a fully integrated trip, which is what customers are asking more and more for. It means you need to integrate properly. Today, very difficult. Again, very fragmented, different solutions. You have a PMS, you have a CRS, you have RMS, you have all of that. By the way, they differ by region of the world, but the traveler wants a consistent experience, whatever the geography is in, whatever segment. So this fragmentation is a limitation. It's another limitation in itself in the data piece, because if you want to do personalization, which is also an important part of what augmented hospitality is about, it means you need to collect the data in a qualitative way so that you are able to use it for AI, for personalization. And with such a fragmentation and such system complex, this is also something that we need to crack.
Can you have this, this wider vision of this tech-enabled ecosystem, around the hotel group? And you've embarked on, new CRS with Amadeus. I think you've got Oracle as one player with the PMS, and you've got a new CRM coming in too. So, how quickly can this ecosystem, do you think, be realized?
It's already partially being realized. Our CRM is done, PMS, most of our hotels now have a PMS in the cloud. CRS, we way in motion. I think the complexity is to move all these pieces together. You're operating the heart, the brain, the lungs of the patient at the same time. But the fragmentation of the industry also allows you to move pieces by pieces and not to be in a big bang mode where you need to wait for years before you see the value. And that's really what I've been trying to push my team on doing, is how we make every day some small steps so that things improve for the guests, but also for the hotel owners.
Yeah. And let's talk about the digital experience. What does we talk about personalization, but what does a truly personalized guest journey look like, do you think?
Yeah. So truly personalized experience, it's before your stay, during your stay, after your stay. We know you, and we deliver the best. It's a journey adapting to you, and not the reverse. So can you imagine going to your room, they know your favorite music, the music is on, they know what smell you like, what's your favorite drink, etc. So that's what I think all of us is trying to go after, this what I would call micro-personalization,
Sure.
where you're really knowing the guests so well that you just don't know what they need, but also how they feel, why they're traveling, and how you can best serve them. Obviously, the industry is not fully there yet. I think it's about a lot of the technology today is about automatization, streamlining the task, orchestration, but we need to move to what I would call, and you will apologize for the expression, emotional intelligence at scale, which is much more complex, is how you put back this emotion into what we do with technology.
I mean, emotional intelligence at scale or personalization at scale, I personally always think, how are you going to possibly achieve that when maybe someone only stays once a year or twice a year? That's the bit that always sticks in my head.
Yeah, it's interesting how people associate personalization with only frequent travelers.
Yeah.
Of course, when you travel frequently, we know more, we have more data points, so of course it could be easier. But first of all, we have a lot of data points even when you travel once, from your behavior online, from a social media, from third-party data integration. We know a lot. And also, I think what's important to know is that personalization, for me, is not about knowing everything about the guest. It's about knowing the one thing that will make a difference. And I'm going to give you an example on this one that is actually not technology-driven at all. I was talking with one of our GM on one of our ultra-luxe hotels. And he was telling me that his mantra was that in the first 15 minutes of a guest walking in, he needs to know something personal about this guest. It doesn't need to be hundreds of things. It needs to be one. And for instance, he was giving me this example of this guest coming in and spending the week and being actually quite depressed because he has left his dog Nacho back home, and he was worried that Nacho might not have the best life. And so they decided, and it didn't cost a lot of money, that every morning when the guest would come back to his room after lunch, he would see on the wall a cartoon of Nacho having his best life. So there was Monday, Nacho having cocktails next to the swimming pool as a drawing. Second day, Nacho enjoying a party with his friend. And it's like a small attention. It takes only 15 minutes. But knowing this one fact about the guest and making the guest feel special because you know this one thing, you can do it even when you're not a frequent traveler.
And that creates emotion, clearly.
Yes, exactly.
Going back to your point. How far does Accor buy into the concept of revenue per available guest? Because it has to be win-win. The guest has to feel special, but Accor also has to make money. And then you also have the sort of intrusive element coming in. So you have to personalize in a relevant way, make people feel special, and make money. So how do you buy into revenue per available guest?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think the RevPAR metric is an investor metric. Obviously, we have investors, our owners, they're looking for ROI on their square meters. So that's normal that we see use that. But we're actually moving more and more internally as a brand operator towards this revenue available per guest. Because I think what's important is, again, the people interact with us not only when they travel. They might live next door to an Accor restaurant, and you also want to engage with them and to generate revenue. And so this is important. And also because this revenue available per guest is also, for me, less of a one-shot metric. You're looking at the long-term value of this one guest, how you engage him or her over time, how you build your brand engagement with them. And this is not something you can just measure through a RevPAR metric. It's something that you measure over time and drives also all your investment. You might spend a lot on a given type of guests to acquire them if you know that you will have the return on investment later on. A hotel owner won't look at it this way because obviously they're looking at their real estate profitability. But for a brand operator, this is super important because this is how you generate the value for your brand.
Interesting what you say about, if you live next to a hotel and you still use the services as a hotel. I can imagine that actually works a lot better for a sort of niche brand, a mama shelter or something in the Ennismore than it would for a corporate hotel. Can you do both?
Yes and no. Actually, what we see is, in general, the industry is going more and more lifestyle. So we're moving away from the concept, even in economy, of having a restaurant in the middle of the hotel, only accessible to the hotel.
Sure.
Today, the restaurants are open up on the street, most of their business they're doing with people who are living around, and it's not because you're in economy that you can't have a fun and cool concept that people want to go to. So it's really about having the right concept, but most of our brands right now are going more and more lifestyle and doing a vast majority, not majority, but an increasing share of their revenues through F&B, which they didn't do 10 years ago.
You know, everyone's talking about the end-to-end guest experience, or, you know, the deep personalization or the connected trip. I mean, they all kind of have the same themes going through them. But, I mean, is it possible, and in the sense that, you know, especially when you look at a hotel tech stack, are there not more pressing issues that need to be addressed?
Which issue may you think about?
Well, you know, centralized data, internal mentality, what we said before about thinking beyond room revenue and food and beverage.
I mean, they go hand in hand, right? Technology is always at the service of a larger business objective, right? So you can't really decorrelate the two, but like I said, the fragmentation of the technology, the ability to capture data, the adoption of your technology by your staff and your hotel owners, all of that we need to crack. I think AI can help a huge deal out of it, but you can't wait for all of it to be ready, right? You need to move and embark, because the reality is people, the usual guests are already adopting it.
Yeah,
if
they're
you look just at the
driving.
queries on ChatGPT today for travel, it's massive.
Yeah.
So you're not going to wait for it to be perfect to adopt it.
Well, that does segue nicely into my questions around AI, because, you know, are you already using it to tailor services and anticipate preferences?
Yes, so at Accor we use AI and Gen AI in multiple fields. The first one, to improve customer experience. So think about customer service, search on the site, personalized recommendation, and so on. So that's one big area we're using it. We're also using it a lot for marketing and branding. That's, by the way, the biggest impact to me of Gen AI is the ability to produce this content at scale with the right tone of voice. Personalization has been often stuck by the lack of content. Here, you can scale your content supply chain, so that's an area where I use a lot Gen AI as well. Third is task automation, productivity, decision-making, so from the hotel staff, automating some of their tasks, to my engineering teams, automated coding, to HR, being able to triage resume to send the right candidate to the right hotel in a much faster time. Revenue management is also another area, so plenty of areas here. And the last one is ESG. There are a lot of our ESG objectives that can be achieved through AI. We use it for food waste reduction, carbon reduction, and so on, so a lot there as well.
The last time you and I spoke was probably 3 or 4 months ago, and you know, I asked you about brand in the age of AI then, but things have kind of evolved significantly since then, which is, I mean, super interesting, but also quite scary. And now we're talking about agent to agent, and, you know, Google Summaries has come in an enormous way. So, you know, do you still kind of think that brand will cut through all of what's happening?
So, of course, it changes a lot for the brand. I think there are things that don't change, which is, at the end, we are in the business of what we call the business of encounters, meaning there will always be this magical moment where a guest crosses the door of your hotel and is going to live an experience. This part is not powered by AI. It's about your product. It's about your brand. It's about the DNA and all that goes around. The challenge for the brand is more about the discoverability, the acquisition of new customers, and obviously things are changing because an AI agent, he doesn't know what brand love is about. He doesn't know all of these emotions that guests might feel when they decide by themselves which brand to pick. And for this, it means that brands need to adapt. What it means the system might not know brand love, but what it does, it picks up signals from the guests, right? Reviews, prices, comments, and so on. So as a brand, I think the challenge is how do you invest in the data piece so that all these signals are green so that you get surfaced, but also how you do it with consistency, because all these systems are built on consistency. And this is, I think, the most difficult part is how you execute with very high consistency so that the system picks you up.
What worries you most about AI and its kind of rapid development? Is it loss of brand? Clearly, you've given your answer there. Is it disintermediation? Is it control of distribution, which is already an issue to an extent?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think we're actually at Accor quite excited by what it can bring to us. The biggest disruption, yes, we see is the distribution part. Obviously, we're moving away from a world where a lot of people were searching on Google, and I saw that on your slides earlier, to a world where they will search in multiple places, so from one to multiple. And in a world where I think in a few years from now, maybe 10 years, I don't know how long it will take, there won't be any websites, probably there won't be any apps. People will go directly to this ChatGPT app and book their trip. And so it means you need to change how you're thinking your distribution, how you play, how you build this partnership. So it's as much of a threat as it is an opportunity to really distinguish yourself and go even more direct to the consumer if you build the right partnership and the right technology.
If you had to change the conversations you had with, say, Amadeus, Ideas, Oracle, the partners that you've been engaging for these big pieces of tech that you're, this development you're doing, have you had to change those conversations as a result of the AI development?
Obviously, they're big partners as part of our distribution chain. So it's my role to challenge them constantly on how they're anticipating this change in distribution. If you think about, for instance, the CRS, tomorrow the CRS needs to be able to power directly distributions through this LLM.
Yeah.
So we have daily discussion around how do we prepare for that, how do we build that. So it's really pushing them to always be on the cutting edge of what we do and embracing with us this change aligned with our business goals.
Yeah, because you start rolling something out, start testing, then another development comes through and start again. Okay, your CEO, Sébastien Bazin, said in hotel management, Accor is always late. Bazin joked. We're late on going asset light. We're late on technology. We're being late on loyalty system. So all the benefit you see today, we're only catching up with the best expertise of the American fellows. So with all the investment and the tech distribution development, evolution that you're going through, where would you like to be early going forward?
I think we are early in some spaces, especially on data. I think one of the things we did very early compared to our peers is to heavily invest in our data infrastructure, having it centralized across all our brands, all our segments, all our countries, and in a very structured and intentional fashion. And when you think about AI, and I think some of the other speakers mentioned it this morning, if you don't have the data and qualitative data, you cannot play. I think that's something that used to be a bit hidden, but it's an investment that we did very, very early on that will pay off. I think another area in technology where we've been actually early, but same, it's a bit in the back of the house, so people don't always realize it. It's our ability to easily connect and build an ecosystem. We have very strong connectivities, API, and this is super important because if you want to create this augmented hospitality, this end-to-end trip, you, as an operator, we won't do it ourselves. We will do it with partners. And if you want to build this ecosystem, you need to be able to plug and play very easily and to add more partners and more experiences to your ecosystem.
Alix, you've got I see as a pretty big role at Accor, Chief Commercial, Digital and Technology Officer. What keeps you awake at night?
The customer. You know, I spent many years in my previous life for Amazon, and what I learned from there is that the customer obsession is key. You can lose the trust of a customer very quickly, but it's hard to win. So I'm constantly obsessed by customers, interacting with them. Actually, customer service sits in my XCOM because I want to remain close to them. They are the one I follow, actually. I think they are the best truth in everything we do on a day-to-day basis.
Alix Boulnois, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.